Together with American songwriter, we had the opportunity to talk to Conor Matthews.
Adam was able to talk to him on the phone and check out his new single, Way Out. It's awesome.
You can check us out on Facebook and YouTube at Bringing It Backwards and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bringing Back Pod.
Follow us, please.
We're Bringing It Backwards with Conor Matthews. Hey, Conor, how's it going?
Hey, man, it's good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for chatting with me today. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with our podcast, but it's all about your journey in the music industry and how you got to where you are today.
Great. That's awesome. Do you want me to just jump in?
Sure. Tell me about where you grew up.
So I'm from a small town that kind of borders farmland. My dad was a farmer, so I grew up in Western Illinois. It's outside of Chicago, but far enough outside of Chicago where it's like kind of the country.
Okay.
And I actually grew up, because of that, I grew up listening to a lot of country music and Southern rock pretty much exclusively. That's all my parents put on in the car. It was either John Mellencamp or like 90s country. That was about it.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a funny upbringing for a pop R&B artist.
Yeah.
Even though I kind of grew up more in the country, I always carried that energy from, the city of Chicago, which is still my favorite city that I've been to, and I've been to a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just because, it's just beautiful. It's like aesthetically incredible. The people are Midwestern, which is just, they're known to be kind.
Sure. Yeah.
And that it's got like, I think the city just has sex appeal, and it's just, it's on a lake, I can't pinpoint it exactly, but anyway, all that to say, I've always carried like the energy of what the city feels like to me, which I think is where a lot of my sound and influences come from.
I did read that you kind of dabbled in country music in the beginning, right? Weren't you playing?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Well, country music's still a huge part of my life, man. Like I grew up on it and I still love it. I stay up to date with it. Actually, like you said, I wrote country when I started my career for 3 years for other people.
That's cool.
So that's kind of where I learned to be a professional songwriter as well.
Was writing country.
And so that's why I think my music sounds so different than other people in my lane. Because I grew up on country. I wrote it for 3 years. I still write it sometimes. And like storytelling has just been a huge part of my creativity. So, and it always will be. And I think that's what makes me a little different in my sound.
Yeah, totally. How did you get into music originally? Like what, you said your parents played you Southern rock and 90s country, but what about me, like instrument wise? What'd you pick up first?
So, I got into music when I was really young. I was 5 or 6 and I was tinkering on this toy piano my parents bought me and all my other siblings. It was like this little shitty Casio. And they came in and I was just kind of plunking out the Star Spangled Banner, just like by ear.
Wow.
And they were like, wow, maybe he's got, a little inclination. So I started playing piano a lot more. And that was actually what got me into music. And then I started my first like a cappella band when I was 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was the only singer in the group. I just needed other people to be in it. So I had my friends come and like we threw together like a concert for everybody. Made like $80 or something. I don't know.
Nice. Was that your first time performing in front of people?
Yeah. And those were also my first original songs.
Wow.
I wrote little ditties on the bus to school every day and I performed them. And that was kind of like my first love of music. And I started doing other stuff that a kid does. I joined like sport leagues and stuff. But then when I was 13, I got my first girlfriend. I was in 8th grade or whatever. And I was sat down to write a song about her. And it was probably the first song I'd written in 4 years.
Oh,
and
wow.
I wrote it and I said to myself in that moment, I was like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. This is amazing. And so, starting right then, I started working towards my dream, and still working towards it today.
Wow. So 13, you said you sat down and wrote a song about your girlfriend at the time.
Yeah. And then 14, I decided when I was 18, I was going to move to Nashville. So I spent my whole high school just writing songs every single day, trying to get good enough to compete. And then when I was 18, I moved to Nashville.
Really? Wow. And in high school, though, you said you had that a cappella group that you threw together at 9.
That was yeah, 9. And then in high school,
Did you have a
started
band?
3 or 4 different. Yeah, I had 3 or 4 different bands that I had started. And my prize instrument when I was in high school was a guitar.
Oh, right.
So I'd get up on stage, yeah, and I fucking rock a guitar. And I learned, Sweet Child of Mine. I'd play that song, and I learned the guitar solo of that song on the guitar, so I could play it on the guitar.
Way.
No, it was funny.
That's awesome. That's something that would be like viral now. If they saw like a 13-year-old kid doing like a Slash solo on a guitar. Oh, no,
I wish I was more involved in social media as a kid, because I did some ridiculous stuff growing up. But yeah, that all led me to Nashville, and at Nashville I had to get a real job.
Yeah, tell me about moving to Nashville. Yeah, like so when you finished high school, I mean, you said you already knew at 14 you wanted to pursue music, and that was your thing. So how did you? You're 18, you're graduating high school, you're like, okay, I'm going to move to Nashville. Then you said you had to get a job, but like, did you know like where to go, like where to move to, like where the songwriters were? Like, how did you figure all that out?
Well, yeah, like I said, I only listened to country growing up. So the only musical influences that I had around me in terms of like mentors were people either in country music or Christian music. So okay. one woman that kind of like showed me some piano stuff every now and then. Was like, hey, if you actually want to do music, I heard Nashville is a really great spot for songwriters. And so that was my only knowledge. I was like, oh, well, if there's going to be a city for songwriters, I guess Nashville's that. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know Los Angeles. At this point, I was like, I'm telling you, I was so like, not sheltered, but musically sheltered, that I didn't even know Los Angeles was like a music city. I had no idea. I thought Nashville was the only one. Mm-hmm. And I thought Los Angeles was for like movies and film and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you hear as a kid, like, oh, Hollywood, it just you was associated with film.
Especially because I didn't really listen to pop music or stuff like that. So like to me, the only music city was Nashville. So I was going to do whatever I had to get there. Mm-hmm. And what I ended up doing is I attended a couple semesters of college at Belmont while I was trying to figure it out. And then in the meantime, I worked retail at Nordstrom. Oh, so nice. This is where and this is actually where like my career got started. It's funny because this is all pre-signed. Mm-hmm. And one day I was working selling shirts at Nordstrom, and I sold a shirt to this guy. And 3 days later, I was going to see like an artist perform at this like really small venue, and I show up and I put on the sport coat. My buddy's like, "Hey man, like, why are you wearing a sport coat to a freaking casual show?" I was like, "Well, you never know who you're gonna meet." Yeah. And so I show up, and this guy that I sold a shirt walks up to me, and he's like, "Hey man, you sold me this shirt," and I was like, "Cool, dude. Like, looks good on you. I don't know what to say."
Looks good on you.
And he just like, he pulls up a chair next to me, and he's like, "So what are you doing in town?" I'm like, "Well, I'm an aspiring songwriter. I moved here from Chicago or whatever." This is probably like 2 years into being in Nashville, maybe a year and a half. I don't know. And he goes, "Oh, that's awesome, man. I work at Universal. I come play me some songs sometimes." Wow. So it's crazy. So I played him a couple real shitty songs. I was like 18, 19. And he saw some I don't know, some talent behind there. Yeah. And he ended up calling me like 5 months later, and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, I own a publishing company with Keith Urban, and I was going through my songs the other day, and your song just came up, and I sent it to Keith, and he loved it, and he's like, "We want to give you a deal." And I was like freaking out.
Oh my god!
And at the time, I was about to sign a deal with a really, really, really small independent company in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And they were it was gonna be this like ridiculously like beginner publishing deal. And so on the message, the guy's name is Joe Fisher. I'm still actually with him as a publisher.
Oh, cool.
So, his message was like, "I don't know what this other company's giving you, but we'll double it, whatever it is." So I was like, "Well, geez, dude, yes, of course I'm going to sign this deal." So that's actually how I got started in country music. was
Wow.
Joe Fisher calling me up on the phone after I sold him a shirt and then ran into him at a bar.
That's
Without knowing who it
wild.
was.
Yeah.
Did it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That must have been like almost like randomly. You're like, it had already been 5 months since you met him.
I figured he had forgotten about me, and I was super bummed because this other company I was going to sign with, like, it was kind of like, well, they're the only ones offering me a deal, which at the time I was excited about regardless, because like songwriting was my dream, and to even get a publishing deal is a massive deal for like a young songwriter.
Sure.
So I was still excited, but I was bummed because when I met Joe, I was like, oh, this guy's so cool. Like, I would love to work with him. And then I found out he had the company with Keith, and Keith has been one of my idols since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was bummed that I'd never heard from him. I was just assumed he didn't like it. So when I got the call, I was actually in the shower and I saw I got a missed call. And I listened to the message. I freaked out, dude. I was like, I was on cloud nine. I didn't know what to say. I was freaking out.
Did you save the message? That thing would be like
on
my computer.
Dude, I probably have it somewhere, man. It's got to be on like an old phone at least. But yeah, it was incredible. That was what got me into. That was what opened the door to all the music that I'm doing now. It was the starting point for me.
That's so cool. And from that phone call, then what was next? Did you get to meet Keith Urban? Like, how did that all happen?
Yeah. I met Keith, and they asked me who I wanted to partner with, because they do all of their deals as a joint venture for the most part.
Oh, okay.
So which joint ventures basically means, like, so someone like Joe Fisher and Keith Urban, who own this publishing company together, they'll take like the infrastructure of like a Warner Chapel or like a Universal music group,
mm-hmm.
and they'll partner whatever songwriter with them. So they asked me who I wanted to partner with, and I didn't know. I didn't know anything about the industry. And this is actually so funny. It's a total God thing, because one time when I was a freshman in college, I was driving down Music Row, which is a street in Nashville that has all of the companies on it. It's such a cool setup because all of the publishing and record labels are in one spot. Like, it's one street.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
I'm driving down it, and I saw Warner Chapel / Warner Records, and I was like, damn, I would love this. I was before I ever met Joe, like a long time before. I was like, damn, I'd love to take that. I love Warner Records, like with Warner Chapel. I want to work with them someday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told Joe at the time, I was like, I don't know who I want to partner with. And he's like, well, how about we partner with Warner Chapel? And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So we partnered with Warner Chapel. And then just to skip a little further, unrelated to Warner Chapel, I ended up signing my deal with Warner Records, which is how I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah.
And it's just a total, like, my whole career, man, has just been like miracle after miracle, like 360s, and like everything is just kind of aligned. Like, it's been wild. It's been a wild
mm-hmm.
ride.
Wow. So with Warner Chapel, you were writing country songs with them.
Yeah, that's what I did for 3 years. Before I decided I wanted to do my own artist project, I was writing country songs for, Joe Fisher's company and Warner Chapel.
Wow. Was that was it hard to transition from writing country music to what you're doing now?
It actually wasn't, because for me, like, my songwriting and my artist project, they've always just been kind of an extension of myself. Like, I haven't really tried to write genre or specific songs.
Mm-hmm.
So when I decided to start writing my artist project, really all that meant for me was I canceled all my rights with other people. So anyone I was writing with in Nashville, I took them off my calendar for a good year and a half, and I just wrote alone every day.
Wow.
So I just and at this point I had discovered like my biggest influences, which are like, Justin Timberlake, Chris Brown,
mm-hmm.
Hank, all these different musical influences I discovered were getting like funneled out of me. So when I was writing and figuring out my sound, I just let like all the influences from country to deep R&B to pop, like all kind of channels of the same thing. So it wasn't so much switching gears as it was just like becoming a fuller version of myself creatively. Wow. That's why you hear pop melodies with like R&B vocals and like country storytelling in my music. It's because, I didn't try to like make a specific thing. I just like I always just let whatever wants to come out. And
mm-hmm.
that's like, and then I just pray people like it,
Yeah. Yeah. was it through Warner Chappell and writing with those people that you were able to sign with Warner Records with your solo project? Or was that just totally coincidence?
Totally. That's what I'm saying, man. Everything has been a coincidence. And, you know, my deal with Warner Records actually came out of Altadena, which is my late mentor Busby's company. And, you know, the guy named Daniel Lee, who was like chief of, I don't know the technical term, but, you know, chief over there under Busby, had heard one of my records and was like, I got to meet this kid. And then so he met me, you know, played him some more. He was like, these are amazing. They flew me to LA to meet with Aaron Bayshuk. And Aaron listened down to 5 songs I had at the time. And he was like, man, this is a freaking hit. And he offered me a deal like an hour later.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's wild. It's wild. I literally ended up at every little dream thing that young Conor had, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, fell into my lap, and it's been just like an incredible ride that I've been on.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's funny, and they always come at the most random times. So, like, the record deal came actually after probably the hardest summer of my life in my career.
Oh, really?
I was actually thinking, you know, I was so down in the dumps after this particular like season that I was wondering if I should even do music. I was like, man, this sucks. I had some serious copyright issues where like some bigger artists stole my music.
Oh my gosh.
And like, you know, my publishers were having to like go through the idea of suing. Yeah, so I had written some songs with some bigger artists. Like ideas that I had brought them and lyrics that I worked out for them, and then instead of like credit me on them, they just took them. Oh. So I was going through this time of like, you know, I felt like betrayed because they were kind of my friends at the same time, and like I was having to decide if we wanted to sue them or not, and I ultimately decided not to. And then at the same time, like I had some like crazy personal stuff I was going through, like that was also related to my career, and I was just like. And I had told my publisher to cancel all my rights, so I wasn't writing with anyone. And so everything just kind of felt like hopeless. I felt like I had been making progress for 3 years, and then it all got wiped out in like one summer. So but I kept writing through the whole thing, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to keep giving it my best shot because I don't know what else to do. And I went on this retreat, and I wrote those 5 songs. And then randomly, Daniel heard them and brought me to Aaron Bayshuk, and Aaron Bayshuk freaked out over them. And then I signed my deal, and the rest has been history.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's been crazy, right?
So tell me about those 5 songs. Yeah, did you ever release those?
Yeah, so I've released all of them but one, and the one song is the one that we've been sitting on, just planning the perfect time to put it out, which is actually coming this summer.
Oh, awesome! Because I saw you just put out "Way Out." But before that, you had Balloons, which was an EP, right? Yeah. So Midnight Flight was one of those songs. Too Late was one of those songs. Balloons came after I was signing my deal. Well, tell me about Forever Right Now. Was that one of the original ones? No, that came before. That one was right before my life kind of went to shit, and I was deciding if I wanted to do it anymore. That one I wrote with one of my best friends who still writes all my music with me. Oh, okay. And I didn't know what to expect for that one. I was just starting to put music out. And then one of my really good friends who wasn't my really good friend at the time, but became after, his name's Arian Timmermans. He used to run pop at Apple. Wow. And he was kind of the first, he was one of the first people to believe in my music before really anyone did. And Forever Right Now was a song that he put on some tester playlists, and it just reacted like crazy, which I got to give credit that they look at what's reacting versus just personal taste. I think that's great. Yeah. Spotify, you have like, 7+ million plays on that song. Yeah. And Apple was the first one to blow it up. They took it from breaking pop to put it on A-list pop, and then A-list pop, it did so well they put it on today's hits, and I was like the only independent artist on the playlist to be on today's hits at the time. Jeez. Which was just the craziest feeling, dude. And Spotify dropped it in some playlists after that, and
it was like my first big win as an artist, you know, as an independent artist. I had my first little bit of like, oh, maybe we can actually do this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty amazing reaction. There's artists that, you know, have been doing this forever that don't even have close to 7 million plays on a song.
I know, man.
That's crazy.
And I was just so excited, and it was just like I don't know. It was just like a little bit. It was a massive amount of hope at the end of like that one. That it was at the end of the summer that I was super down in the dumps. So it was just like a really cool moment.
Yeah, that's amazing that it all kind of turned around and worked out for you that way.
Yeah, definitely. And then it was like one thing after the other. It went from Forever Right Now doing well to like unrelated Aaron hearing the new songs I've been working on, and Daniel Lee and signing me to my first record deal. And it was just like, it was a great time.
Yeah. Were you playing out in Nashville at all? Like, I know you went from writing country songs to then deciding, you know, I'm just going to go for this on my own. Like when did you first do your first show as like more of a pop artist?
I haven't done any of those in Nashville. All my shows in Nashville, I kind of centered around being a songwriter. So I would do these things called, I don't know if they have them in New York or LA, but I would do these things called writers rounds, where like 3 or 4 writers would get up on stage and we'd take turns playing like whatever songs we just felt like playing that we had written recently. So that was like in Nashville, that was like my the extent of when I played live. I would just sit down with my piano, rock out some new songs I wrote, whether they were pop or country or whatever, just kind of whatever I felt like playing. But I never did the whole thing in Nashville where, you know, I book a venue for myself and like sing the tracks. I never really wanted that to be my thing. And if I was going to do like a low budget performance, I would rather have it be centered around like my voice and songs instead of like the tracks and stuff.
The production of the tracks. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want people to know that I'm a real musician too. You know, like I grew up playing piano. I wouldn't call myself a guitar player, but I do play guitar. But you know, when I sit on the keys and I just sing, I feel like there's something raw about that you don't see in every artist, and I like people knowing that I can do that.
Yeah, so people aren't just like, oh, this guy just has this like random produced track behind him as he sings.
Yeah, you know, I don't want people to think that like, you know, I'm a manufactured product, because I started in a very raw genre where songwriting is important and ability to play is important, and so I just want, you know, I want people to know that for me, like I care about the music as much as they do. You know, I care about being a influence in the musical space and like a true talent, as much as like they want people to be raw and real with them. So that's important to me that it comes across like that. And it's like you said, it's not just like some produced package that comes out of, you know, wherever it comes out.
Yeah. I mean, there's not many artists that have been able to do that transition from country to pop. You know, I mean, I get, it's like Taylor Swift, maybe. I mean, she had those early country records, and now it's totally, you know, produced and it's a totally different sound. But aside from her, I can't really think of anyone else that's been able to tie the two together. That's a pretty huge, you know, accomplishment, I think.
Dude, I don't know. I just know I've got some wildly different influences under my belt, and I'm just glad that so far they've come together in a pretty cool way.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I haven't seen anyone really be able to pull it off, and you've obviously done it quite well, which is amazing.
Thank you.
So tell me about, Balloons was an EP that came out this year?
Yeah, it came out February.
Okay. And then you just released a brand new song, Way Out.
Called Way Out.
Yeah,
and that's the first single off my summer EP.
I love the concept of Way Out. It's like the photos, or it looks like, you know, it's like, you know, Shazam and then Way Out in the middle, and then Avengers Endgame. Like it's like a movie theater, you know, in front of a movie theater.
Yeah, man. It's funny because that's actually one of the pivots we made. We had this whole direction we wanted to take the EP. But because of coronavirus, we couldn't see anyone to get it done because we needed to make new content. So basically, we had to find a way to make all the content we made in the last year work for a new project visually. And so the idea we came up with is movie posters. So the whole EP is going to follow this movie poster idea in different ways.
Oh, that's rad.
Which I love, which I ended up liking more than the original idea. So the pivots have been okay. You know, they were going to work just as well. And I actually like them a little better. So it's been okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, the art is so spot on. Like I'm looking at the one where it looks like, it's like in China or something, and it's like your movie poster, and then next to it's like Venom, but then it's like in a different language, and then like it just looks like it's splattered up there, and then you have like it's like there's another one where it's like on a marquee in the front of like some Chicago building.
The next one is actually the artwork's a take on The Hangover, and it's hilarious, dude. It's gonna be great.
That's so cool. Well, tell me about Way Out. So that's the new one that's out right now. How did that song come about?
That song, I was in Colorado on a writing retreat, and we were just hanging out and riffing on some chords, and I started singing that melody and lyric. I was like, "He on the way, and I'm on the way." And this was after I had the cool rhythm. We came up with this cool rhythm. I literally have a voice note in my phone of me going da 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 da, because I knew that's what I wanted the rhythm of the chorus to.
Yeah.
So after I had the rhythm, which is really weird. I've never actually started a song with a rhythm of like a lyric before. Usually it's like the melody or the words. It's not like the beat of the. Anyway, so then I sang the "He on the Way Out," "He on the Way Out" because I'm on the way. And I was like, you know what? I actually have a few stories in my pocket. I could write this from personal experience. So that's what I did, man. Me and some of my best friends. We just we were up real late. It was probably like 3 a.m. and we made that whole record in like 3 hours. And then we mixed it, and that's what you hear.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was pretty dope.
That's really cool. Wow. Have you done any touring?
Nah, yeah, man. We were gonna. That's another one of the pivots. We were supposed to start this summer, actually. And now, obviously, we're not gonna be able to do that. So probably earliest late this year, I imagine. But honestly, it'll probably be 2021 before I get to start doing that. Which is something I'm bummed about, because I was really looking forward to getting on the road, and finally like playing some of these songs that I've had the opportunity to record in front of a live audience.
Yeah. Have you toured ever, like with your country stuff or other bands or not?
No, I've never toured because in high school I never had the opportunity to. I always just played around my hometown, and then when I moved to Nashville, I was focused on songwriting, and I was just writing songs twice a day for 3 years. So, and then when I started my own artist project, it was only really been in the last year and a half that I started putting music out, and I'm just now getting a big enough fan base to be able to tour. So, and then right when we were going to start hopping on some opening acts, COVID-19 hit, and we had to postpone it.
Yeah, such a bummer.
But you know what? We're going to get them next year. Hopefully we'll have a hit or two under our belt, and we'll be able to do some really cool venues.
Yeah, totally. You better play here in San Diego. That's where we're at. So
I definitely. That's an easy one, man. I'll do that for sure.
Rad. Are you still in Nashville now?
No, I've got a place in Los Angeles. Okay. And then I still spend quite a bit of time in Nashville just because I've got like a whole music community there too. But most of my time I'll spend in LA. Right now I'm in Chicago because that's where I'm from. I just came here to visit for a couple of weeks. My little brother and sister were graduating college this year, and obviously they can't have their own graduation shit, so I came home to celebrate with them.
They're graduating college this year. That's awful.
I know. I feel so
for the situation. That's amazing that they're graduating college, but it's awful that they have to do it under these circumstances.
I know. It's like one of the most monumental moments of a young person's life, and they can't celebrate with anyone. So I wanted me and my older brother, who's also my manager, we came back, and we're gonna celebrate with him.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, I feel so bad for these kids and the high school seniors or the kids that are trying to go to, the college on like a football scholarship or something. It's like, no.
Oh, I know. I know, dude. It's crazy.
Well, have you done any? Are you gonna do, or have you done any like live streaming things, or do you have anything planned as far as like Instagram goes?
Yeah, we've been doing some live streaming on my own Instagram, and I think we'll probably start like partnering up, like you see on Instagram, pretty soon. Especially around some of these releases, I might join some different press stuff or accounts and go on, play some new songs or whatever. I'll probably start doing that on other people's channels too. I'm really kind of open to whatever. I just kind of take it as the opportunity comes. And
Sure.
On my own Instagram, I've been doing like happy hours and stuff, or like I'll just invite like different people to come on and like have a drink with us, and like we'll like do Would You Rather, shit like that. Just like fun stuff fun stuff that I'd be doing anyway. I just kind of keep it lighthearted.
Yeah, that's creative. I haven't heard that one yet. People do.
Yeah, because I like the idea of just like hanging out with people. Like I'm all for playing my music live when people want to hear it. But I at the same time, like, I think it's important for people to know like you're a real person and like you like to have a good time. So, I try not to center everything I do around like, hey, check out this, check out that, check out this. Sometimes I just like people to come on and like, hang out with someone virtually that I haven't before.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. I'm sure your fans think that's like beyond cool, to be able to talk to an artist that you like.
Yeah, they've been liking it, man. They've been having a great time. I'll be like, yo, comment what you're drinking below, and like everyone will like comment what they're sipping on. It's fun.
That's awesome, man. It's really cool. Well, Conor, man, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thank you to you as well.
I have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yes. Gosh, dude, there's so much advice that people haven't asked for, but I will say anyway. Let's see. I would say number one, it's twofold to me, because one of the biggest traps an artist gets into is listening to too many people's opinions on what they should sound like. And the other, on the other side of that coin, another huge trap people get into is not listening to anyone's opinions. So I would say the number one thing that you can do from an actual art standpoint, meaning your music, is, give yourself the freedom to explore as much as you need to find your sound. And in that regard, don't listen to what anyone tells you, because you need to find that yourself. And on the other side, find a few people that you trust their musical taste and that align with your musical tastes. And if they tell you something sucks, or if you show them something and they're not excited about it, they don't want to tell you it sucks, you can kind of tell they don't like it. Take that with a grain of salt, but definitely take it, because you only get better by critiquing yourself. And that's something that, I've been learning time and time again since I started music. And every step of the way, I would turn in a song. I'd be like, this song is fucking awesome. And my publisher would be like, no, it's not. The song's bad. And I would be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And then sure enough, 3 months later, I'd be like, that song is a terrible song. So, you hit a point, and this is the last thing I'll say about it. You hit a point where your songs are good enough where you split, it's not possible for every single person to love your music. It's not how art works. Everybody has a different lane that they like. So, but you hit a point where it'll be divided. The people who love your music, and the people who don't fuck with it. And so that's the point where, you've probably got to get enough gut to decide. But until then, you need to keep searching, give yourself freedom to do whatever you need to do to be an artist. And at the same time, take the people you trust criticism seriously, because that's the only way you're going to get better.